do know that it's day 2 of Ghana's crunch talks with the International Monetary Fund. Top officials from the Global Financial Organization and the Finance Minister are focusing on Ghana's expenditure data, inflation and debt reconciliation, among others. This forms part of government's push to get the support to put the economy back on track. Joining me now is Isaac Kofi, data analyst with the Joy research team. Kofi, first of all, walk us through the key areas that will be the focus of today. Kofi, you'd have to unmute so we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So 2 key things government will be looking at. First, data gathering and reconciliation, and then second will be revenue, which is very important. On the side of data gathering and reconciliation, 2 things will be involved, which is domestic, our desktop, which looking at the domestic aspect and then the foreign aspect too. So just looking at summary data from the Bank of Ghana, you can see that Ghana's current desktop is around 391.9 billion Ghana cedis. And if you segregate this, domestic portion is around 189.9 billion cedis, and the foreign component being the biggest, 201.9 billion Ghana cedis. Now, we also did some breakdown. You can see that since the beginning of the year, or if you like, since December 2021 to March 2022, our total public debt stock has risen by 11.4%. The external component has also gone up by 18.8%, while the domestic portion has gone up by 4.3%. Now, Blaise, we'll also be looking at the revenue aspect, where government will be considering the first quarter fiscal outturn for 2022 this year. They'll also be going heavy on the e-levy and then also reversal of the benchmark, value, and also updates on implementation of other, tax measures, especially property tax and then e-commerce taxation and also tax exemption. Now, if you remember, Ghana loses close to $2.4 billion. That's according to the president when he gave the State of the Nation address to tax exemption. This means that this will be one key area that government will actually look at critically when it comes to their negotiation with the IMF. And also that more, the amounts we are seeking from the IMF as bailouts and what we even going as COVID-19, expenditure. So I'm just comparing the $2.4 billion that we lose as tax exemption. If you compare it to what we receive from COVID-19 support and what we are even looking for from the IMF, which is 1.5 billion dollars, is more, than what we are looking for.
Right, but there are also other key sectors that the focus will be put on, which has got to do with, for instance, the cocoa sector and petroleum as well. Talk to us about that.
Very important sectors, because these 2 sectors bring in foreign currency. And it's very important to look at those things, because one thing Ghana is seeking to solve is our balance of payments, problems that we are actually encountering now. So if you look at the summary data again, what we are getting from cocoa this first quarter has been dropping. So it should be something government should be looking at, because falling commodity prices also affecting our external reserves, and it's making it to deplete. And so government will be looking at some of the commodities that bring in foreign exchange, like cocoa. Gold has been doing well in the first quarter, but critical, just like you said, cocoa is dropping in terms of the revenue is bringing in terms of foreign currency. So it's one key area government will be looking at as to how to improve upon it and also increase the revenue generation.
But the fear is, for instance, if you take a look at the petroleum sector, part of our funding for the free senior high school policy as a nation, there's some sort of a link to petroleum funds as well. So if the IMF is going to look into that, is there any possible implications for the program?
Well, the program, as they have said, is from the Heritage Fund and other sources. But government is clear that one thing they are not going to touch going to the negotiation with IMF is the free SHS. So we are still hoping that government will actually stick with what they've said. But I am of the view that since they've actually said in the Q&A they released this week that is a no-go area in the negotiation, that they will still maintain the free SHS, although it has a lot of, it's putting a lot of weight on government expenditure. They feel it's a policy that they can't terminate.
And what would be the alternative around that? Other forms of subsidy to focus on?
Probably one thing government will have to go in heavy on will be tax exemption. Just like I said, we lose close to $2.4 billion as a result of tax exemption. And this is more than what we are even seeking from the IMF, which is 1.5 billion cedis. So it's one key area that governments will be looking at critically when it comes to tax exemptions, because it's very important. It brings in foreign currencies, and you can't be losing as high as 2.4 billion cedis every year to tax exemptions.
What about the further engagements? We understand that right from tomorrow, there may be some more technical engagements, for instance, with the Bank of Ghana. Tell us about that as well.
Well, engagement with Bank of Ghana is really important because they are in charge of our, international reserve, and it's just like I said, it's one key reason why we are seeking for this what government says is their enhanced domestic program. But like I was saying yesterday, this will be the first time that government will be going in for a hybrid program, in the sense that we'll be combining two IMF products to actually arrive at one program. And Benin has already done it, and Ghana believes that we will qualify for this program. So it means that you need, all stakeholders to be on board for you to qualify for this high combined, fiscal exposure that government of Ghana feels that they may qualify for this time around.
Isaac, we'll have to leave it here for now, but I'm grateful for your time.